All right, good Saturday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for stopping by for a check of your forecast. It is July 5th, year 2025. If you didn't already know, we are actually closer to the year 2050 than we were 2000. That actually happened on the 3rd, so we're closer to 2050 than 2000. So it is flown by this 21st century. We are taking a live look outside at our sky cam there in Dumas. You can see a lot of fair weather cumulus clouds out there. Very milky sky there close to the horizon. So we have got a lot of low level moisture to work with for today's storm chances. If we take a look a bit further northwest, this is in Des Moines, New Mexico. You can see the Capulan volcano off in the distance, and you can see a few very high based showers, maybe some weaker thunderstorms out there coming off the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Those are going to continue to move in a southeast direction. We've got enough northwest flow aloft that these storms will probably eventually work into eastern New Mexico and get into the northwest panhandle. So this is going to be that threat for that conditional severe weather hazard for the rest of this evening. Damaging winds up to 70 miles an hour, some quarter-sized hail, and maybe some localized flooding. Won't rule out landspout potential or maybe a quick tornado. I don't think it's going to be a big concern for tonight. Really not concerned about that. It's going to be mostly the damaging winds and the cloud to ground lightning and torrential rainfall. But you can see these storms really haven't been developed for very long, an hour, 2 hours tops. We do have that one storm that was briefly severe warned out there in Mora County. That one did get canceled pretty quick. These storms are below severe limits, at least for right now. Here's your current conditions outside. You've got a lot of cloud cover down here in the southeast panhandle, so temperatures have been slow to warm, but it is very muggy out there. 80 degrees in Clarendon, 86 here in Amarillo, and some low 90s where we've had a bit more sun through the rest of the day today. Winds are calm. They're at 5 to 15 miles an hour from the east. That's pushing all that moist air here into the panhandles. It's kind of at a muggy level or a very depressive level. You've got 2 points in the 70s actually in the eastern half of the panhandle. That is extremely high dew points for the region, and that's why some of these storms are going to be very efficient with their rain rates. Here's the outlook for this afternoon from the Storm Prediction Center. They do have that marginal risk draped across the western 2/3 of the area. Only areas we don't really expect severe weather chances will be down in the southeast panhandle, though a thunderstorm or two could still be possible for places around Shamrock, Wellington, Childress, and Paducah. And then on Sunday, we have a marginal risk covering essentially the whole panhandles in eastern New Mexico. Areas like Childress and Paducah may see these storms fall apart or dwindle before they get there late tomorrow night into Monday morning. And then we have a slight risk that just clips the northern side of the Oklahoma Panhandle for Beaver and Texas County. A lot of those clustered, scattered severe storms should be outside the viewing area. The severe weather for us for the next 2 days is going to be on an isolated level. We don't think they're going to be very long-lived. They'll probably be short in their duration, and they're going to be very isolated. So we won't have necessarily 7 or 8 severe storms out there at one given time. Maybe just a couple, 2 to 3 at tops. So let's go ahead and put your model into motion. This is 4 o'clock. You can see the model already picking up on some of those storms out there. It does form a linear complex, or at least some linear segments in the western panhandle. Then they start to fall apart as we get into late tonight. By 10 p.m., we've run out of our daytime heating. Temperatures start to decrease. Instability is going to wane. These storms will weaken. By midnight, we're probably done with severe weather concerns. We may have a rogue shower in the morning, a lot of sunshine tomorrow afternoon. That's going to help us climb into those 90s, and you can see a few more storms erupting by 5 and 6 p.m. Those kind of on an isolated to scattered level, but you can see, for example, this storm here around Silverton. Don't take this as gospel truth, but we may have a couple of isolated cells just kind of around the Panhandles region, but some of these could be strong to severe. You can see some pinks showing up on the simulated reflectivity, would just indicate a pretty intense updraft with that thunderstorm. As we run into Monday, we will see some low clouds early on. We'll see those temperatures work their way back into the 80s and 90s in the afternoon, and we're in this wash, rinse, repeat cycle with storms going off the mountains in New Mexico and Colorado and then getting pushed into the panhandles. That's just with some of that northwest flow, and that's going to continue into Monday, probably again on Tuesday and even Wednesday. So I wouldn't necessarily rule out that chance for a daily thunderstorm, especially the further northwest that you go. That ridge of high pressure should be displaced far enough west that we don't have much of a threat for the triple digits, but we will be at or maybe just above average for those high temperatures. You can see us climbing into the 90s for most of next week, 60s for those lows, which is pretty typical for early July. We do have some drier weather on Thursday and Friday, and then maybe a subtle front easing in Friday into Saturday. Again, these cold fronts this time of the year, very shallow. Models don't necessarily have a great idea or handle on them when they get here. You guys have lived here as long as I have, or at least those of you who have know that our shallow cold fronts tend to get here sooner rather than later, and they tend to be a bit further south. So right now we got you at 93 Saturday. We'll see if that changes with that cold front easing through, but will probably be a catalyst for some storms when it does push south across the area at some point, especially if it peaks with daytime heating. That is all we have for you this afternoon. Should we get a bunch of severe storms later this evening, we'll be back live again to keep you guys weather aware. We look forward to seeing you tonight at 6 and 10 on TV, and we'll get you back to